Keep the calls, emails, Facebook comments coming. Want to hear from you. We also want to hear from Marc Lamont Hill. We welcome him back, professor at Columbia University's Institute for Research in African American Studies. And also with us, Tara Setmayer, Republican commentator and strategist. She's also communications director for California Representative Dana Rohrabacher, but not speaking on his behalf or for his office in this case. Again, call in 1-877-TEL-HLN. Marc, I'll start with you. Come on. Don't you think Senator Reid's getting a little bit of a pass? It's a different reaction if that's a Republican talking.
Well, I don't think he's getting any kind of a pass. He's being, talked about in the media in a very critical way by a whole lot of people. Do I think the Democrats would be more intensely chasing after Reid were he a Republican? You're absolutely right. But I don't think it's fair to compare this to Trent Lott's comment, and I don't think that this is something that should force him to step down from his position as majority leader.
This was a candid, off-the-cuff remark. Obviously, he meant that.
I don't doubt that he meant it.
Are human resources directors now, did they miss the memo in this country that it's okay for a white power structure, white males in the power structure, to call blacks Negroes? Is that acceptable now, Marc?
Oh, but the issue of Negro is a different point here. I don't doubt that he meant what he said, and I think there are many people, publicly and privately, who would admit that Barack Obama's electability is enhanced by the fact that he had lighter skin and didn't speak in African-American vernacular English. I think we could probably all agree that his electability is enhanced by that. But the fact that he used the word Negro is an offensive term. I don't disagree with that. I'm not questioning what's in Harry Reid's heart. I'm more concerned with his behavior. I'm more concerned with the legislation that he's passed throughout his career. And I think in that way, we can safely say that he is not a racist. We can't go around detecting what's in people's heads.
Okay, Marc, let me ask you this. So to hear the term, and a few people were just even talking here in the studio when I mentioned the term Negro dialect.
Yeah.
You were offended by that, right? I mean, I'm like, where's he getting Negro dialect? Go ahead.
I was saying earlier, first of all, no one even used the term Negro.
Right.
It went out with like Jive Turkey in the 70s. It's just not a term that people use anymore. But I think
apparently they do.
Well, right. At least they don't use it. Fair enough. At least they don't use it in public. But I think the issue here is that he was making a point about African-American vernacular English or Ebonics or Black English or what have you. And I think he's right. The fact that he's an older gentleman who still used the word Negro is a bit curious to me. But I don't think it necessarily makes him a racist. Hey, we still have Negro in the census up until recently.
Okay.
So, what are you going to do?
Guys, let me...
For language like this, where on the other side, if you insert the name Limbaugh, Beck, Hannity, or any white Republican into the same scenario, this would be a completely different discussion, and that type of hypocrisy is unacceptable.
Marc, go ahead.
Well, first, I absolutely disagree. I mean, those names and many other conservatives do say those things on a daily basis, and
no, they don't.
And Hay isn't made of it.
No, they don't.
No, they absolutely do, and Hay isn't made of it.
When have they ever called him a Negro? When has anybody I just listed referred to Barack Obama as a Negro?
Well, you're disagreeing with the point that I haven't made. All I'm saying is that objectionable language is used by many right-wing conservatives, or many far-right conservatives all the time, and we don't always make a big deal about it. I think what makes this different is because Harry Reid is not a radio talk show host, but a politician, and I think the reason why we're giving him the benefit of the doubt is because, again, we see his entire record. If this were Mitch McConnell instead of Harry Reid, I would be saying the exact same thing. It's a stupid comment to make. It's an inappropriate comment, but at some point we have to move on and not expect somebody to bow before the race gods every single time something is done. Now, when it comes to the idea that President Obama has somehow absolved him because he's apparently the supreme race guide at this point, this fits a very familiar pattern of President Obama, which is to avoid race. He is race denying, race dodging, race ducking. He goes to extravagant lengths to avoid issues of race, and by publicly forgiving Harry Reid the same way he forgave Joe Biden and everyone else, what he's done is he's able to show to mainstream white people that he's above the racial fray, that he doesn't care about this race stuff, and I think it's an act of political cowardice by President Obama.
All right, let's and that's at the heart of this, because you look at that, when you just see those words, what are you're saying someone who's darker skinned is not as worthy? I mean, but at the heart of it, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah,
Negro dialects. I mean,
in the public imagination, that is absolutely true. If you look at the first half of the 20th century, and even the second half, many of the leading black political figures happen to be of lighter complexion. That's not a coincidence. When they do doll studies, not just the Clark study of the 50s, if you look at doll studies today, if you look at any major empirical study, you see that many people, both black and white, still prefer lighter skin. When you look at magazines, television, rap videos, anything you look at, lighter skin people tend to get
That's a bigger conversation, different